I am feeling very footloose, maybe even a little fancy free myself. It is, of course, time for the Greater Wealth. 1 o'clock. We do this every week on Mondays, and this is this great marriage. Sometimes the marriage is a little dysfunctional, but there you go. Between, look, money, politics, and the people in between. So, great cast of contributors today. Of course, over there pressing the buttons at the moment. I can see him squinting at the screen. He's obviously doing something productive. It's great.
I'm getting weird messages come through. I'm like, what the hell is this?
All right, this is really weird stuff coming through. All right, now what we do is
Derek, can you mute?
Miracle of modern technology. All right, are we there?
Derek, can you please mute your microphone?
All right.
Sorry, is something's going on with Derek's mic, so I'll sort that out in a moment. I'll send him a message. But SHAK, can you unmute your mic for me?
Okay.
SHAK is
unmuted. SHAK, you're there.
I'm here.
Oh, great. We have SHAK. Okay, for some reason, we are getting a lot of feedback from Derek. So can you, Derek, check your microphone settings and just make sure you put your echo cancellation on for me, please?
Oh, look at this. We're coming from all parts of the world right now. So you've got to have a few little tech issues. It keeps us, on our toes. All right. So we have got SHAK on the line, but the man himself, who actually, look, he's the host of the show. He presses the buttons. He has the laptop in front of him. Therefore, it makes him the official one. All right, Derek. We're still trying to get you back on the line there, mate, or on the line without all the
we can see
in the background.
We can see Derek, but for some reason it just like huge amounts of echo.
All right,
so
we'll work on that. All right.
All right. So what I might do, I'm going to mute myself.
Got me now, gentlemen.
Yes, we have. There we go.
No echo. Love it.
We can't have a show, mate. When it's your show, we need you. You're a fairly important part of this. Great to actually hear from you. And what's on the show today, my friend?
Look, there's a lot coming up. I want to have a look, first of all, about the ANZ ditching cash in some of their branches. There seems to be a big move by the banks at the moment to move towards a cashless society. It's causing all sorts of disruption, particularly for not-for-profits who, of course, get donations in fives and twos and all sorts of stuff. Some of these organizations have also said, we're just not going to deal with denominations less than $5 or less, which wipes out a huge part of the market. And I'm really getting, I'm going to just say what it is. I'm getting annoyed that banks are pushing customers away. They're not making it user-friendly for them to actually do business with them. And that's a huge concern because I think people are forgetting that the customer is there to be served as opposed to this customer serving the business. It's scrapping the deposit withdrawal, smaller cash denominations in some branches, ANZ. They're not accepting the coins and $5 notes. They can't be withdrawn over the counter. In addition, they're claiming that ANZ has implemented a limit on the number of notes each customer can deposit per day in some branches, so how often they can pop in. And this, you've got to wonder how this goes down with the customer. The banks sell themselves.
ANZ has posted a $7.4 billion cash profit.
Sorry, the banks obviously sell themselves on the ability to be a custodian of your wealth. We are strength. We are security. Come do business with us. And it's just got to the point where people are just going, this is getting far too hard to actually do business with them.
It's worked a treat for me because I've been watching ANZ's treatment of their customers, and I was one of them, and I simply have just ceased trading with them. They're not going to see any more of my money. I'm not dealing with a company that won't deal with cash. I'm not dealing with, and here's the sad reality. I'm with another bank as well, but when are they going to follow suit? The ANZ seems to be the one who are leading the way with this, this hatred of cash, this hatred of freedom. But yeah, I think again we need to vote with our wallets, and in my case, ANZ, I'm disgusted with the way you've treated your customers. You forgot that the business is actually about customers, not just shareholders. Without that money, you can't make any money. So, yeah, that would be my advice. Get the hell away from them.
So we've got Josh and Damien back in the stream already. And Josh has already come out with a pearler. Today's sarcastic comment brought to you by the letter E.
I love it. All right. Now, okay. Now, SHAK, I'd be very interested in your thoughts about, what the ANZ and the movements they've made. What do you think?
Well, to be fair, they're suggesting that people access cash through the ATMs, not through the branch. So my suggestion is, ANZ, close all your branches, lay off all your staff, and then we actually get to see who you really are, and we can choose a different bank.
Yeah, spot
a
on.
good friend of mine recently gave me a bank account details, and I said, "Oh, what bank's that?" It was a credit union. And for the moment, credit unions and those sorts of smaller banking and banking-like institutions seem to provide better customer service. They seem to, to give you all of the things that you get from the mainstream banks. Why not? Why not use them if you can? I think that's what we need to do. We need to start taking our business away from the big guys.
Thoroughly agree. And I think that when you're talking about the ATM side, okay, they're saying get the cash from the ATM. So, well, hang on, where can I find an ATM? Because do you know where they are? Because I can't find them.
No, but that's my point, right? So you go down to your local branch only for them to tell you to use the branded ATM. Yeah. Well,
ANZ doesn't have branded ATMs anymore. Like I think there's 3 locations in Perth at the moment. The rest of them they outsource it to another company, and there's no way in hell even a lot of the branches now don't have ATM branches, ANZ branded ATMs. So there's no way in hell I'm putting my cash into someone else's ATM hoping that it will end up in an ANZ ATM. Like, no, you can get stuffed on that one. So a comment from Damien here, where is the governments on the banks? So I hate to say it, one of the industries where I think the government does actually need to be involved, I think the banking industry is one of those industries.
Well, yeah. I mean, ultimately, it's our money and it needs some sort of form of regulation. And I'm anti-regulation, but as little as possible. But enough.
No, hang on a second, because that means then that if I say, you know what, I can do this better, let's get everybody from Edge Radio, all of our audience to come in. All right, guys, we're going to set up our own bank. It's going to be a lot harder for us to do that because of government regulation.
Yeah, true. Can't argue with that. Well, let's do that. Okay, we need an Edge Bank. Let's get started. I'll put my $2.50 in, and away we go.
I want to call it the Bank of SHAK. It's got a ring to it.
Oh dear! And if we're ever robbed, it'll be a SHAK attack. Or
I was going to call it Shackies, but there's already a company called Shackies.
There you go.
Getting to Damien's question, the governments are pushing the banks to do this stuff to their customers. That's the reality of what's going on with the whole know your client rules that are happening. I've experienced it firsthand, and you think to yourself, well, they're making great bedfellows. Let's face it, that's what's going on.
Right. Okay.
I'm getting Aaron to check the audio for online because it's a little bit distorted, but that's okay. Also, for the people who are listening online, is the Facebook stream audio nice and clean? So I think the Bank of SHAK, I like the name. With a shirt like that, I think the uniform would have to be like definitely from Lowe's. Like you've got no choice; you have to wear a loud shirt. I'm not sure about having all the staff with gold chains around their neck.
We give them fake ones, At least when you walk into the branch, you know where your money is.
Yeah, it's in their gold chains.
So
the bank owns gold. That would be
liquidatable. It's liquidatable. But look, I'm sure that ANZ will have some ridiculous comment. And I've been reading this book. It's an old book. It's called Doublespeak. From revenue enhancement to terminal living, how government, business, advertising, and others use language to deceive you. And I just want to put in the mindset of people, our audience, what the mentality is of the people that create all the rules, right? The politicians, the business leaders, and I'm sure ANZ will come up with some twisted, weird way of wording it that somehow they're doing you a favor by not having cash. But this is from the Harvard Business Review, and this is over 50 years ago, or 40 years ago. It says here, if competitive advantage can be achieved from just-in-time participatory management styles, then bottom-line-oriented organizations can better facilitate their gain-sharing systems to network for the new global technologies. At this company, for example, detected casualties fluctuate between generic niche discontinuities and complementary enculturative yield functions. Does anybody have any clue what that means? This is
sphincter says what? A sphincter says what? Like honestly, that's ridiculous. Speak English.
They use to try to make everybody else feel like, oh, I don't really understand what's happening, and the bankers know what's going on, and like something's no bullshit, right? Whatever corporate spin they use, whatever language they use to justify this, the bottom line is that you can't access cash from branches. ANZ's the leader at the moment. There's going to be others to follow, no doubt. You can't access cash from branches. And as much as I love my frequent flyer points, I would actually start suggesting that people do start using cash, except for the fact that those frequent flyer points, if you're paying cash, you're actually subsidizing those people who are using their credit cards.
God, I love Josh. Sorry, he's just put a comment in there. Damn banks and their financial flipperdustering.
Absolutely.
So for the people who don't really get into politics, to stop certain bills from being passed, people will actually stand up in front of everyone and just dribble shit for hours on end because you've only got a certain amount of time to actually ask questions and to form a debate. And what SHAK has just so eloquently read is exactly that. They've just tried to make it so complicated that no one actually understands what's going on.
That's it. You feel excluded if you don't understand the language, right?
The one comment I do want to jump back to, and it's from
that's
Damien.
The business review. So that's not just bankers. That's the business community. These are the people that are in charge of your big mining companies, in charge of your big grocery stores, your telecommunications companies, your media companies, etc. This is how they think. This is how they, look at what they do in hospitals. Now, they used to say you're dead. Then it was the person's expired. Yeah. Now the person is no longer viable.
No longer viable.
No longer viable.
Oh, wow.
They would have said that about me years ago.
I just want to jump back to a comment from Damien, which I think is a very, very valid point, especially with the amount of people that do it through the Apple Watches, their phones and all that. The tap and go. How long do you think it will be until they actually start charging to use the tap and go facilities?
Well, they already do, right?
They do.
It's the merchant that's paying for it, not the customer, the merchant. So every time a customer uses a credit card, that is a fee to the merchant using it. So what they do is they simply just pass that on to the customer. They charge what they would have charged for that item, plus they know they're going to have to give a certain percent away just to do business.
And don't forget, it's not just credit cards as well. It's also all your Visa debit cards. Anything that uses the Visa system or the MasterCard system has a charge in there. So they've got to make
even an FPOS, even if you use FPOS, whilst it's not a percentage-based charge, there's still a charge for using FPOS. So you're right, cash is king, except for, as I said, if you're using cash at a place like Woolworths, for example, I'm not picking on them, but just they're the biggest grocery store in Australia. They don't pass on the credit card surcharge. So you're getting frequent flyer points. The person paying cash isn't getting any discount. So therefore, the person paying cash is actually subsidizing your frequent flyer points.
Yep. The other one as well, because they're still putting the charge for the FPOS facilities into the cost of the groceries. So if you pay for cash out Woolworths, don't know why you'd be shopping there in the first place, but you're still paying FPOS surcharges on all the food that you're buying.
Look, I've seen this recently.
With cash.
You're paying cash and you still pay a surcharge.
So that's why when you buy your groceries, you should be going to the local farmers markets and things like that. So if you really want to fight the system.
Can just come back, Aaron, did you just say you had to pay a surcharge to pay cash?
Yeah, absolutely. This is ridiculous. There is still a surcharge.
You have to name and shame this, please. Where was this place?
Okay, I got this through. No, not physically. It wasn't me. I actually got it today from Brenton Johansson. Okay,
yep. So that's the councillor for the Shire of Karratha.
I believe you're correct. Yes. So I saw a message from him saying he was charged, I think, something like 43 cents FPOS charge when he paid in cash. It's literally written on the receipt. I remember
the receipt. Yes. They said check your receipt because they rounded up.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
He said
no, it's not that. They've done two things. They've rounded up and given a surcharge. So, well, as you know, they put the surcharge on first, then they round up.
Yeah.
It is fraud. It's fraud.
Yeah. No, I've seen that post as well. So it's one of those things I don't like. More regional centres where they don't have growers market makes it a little bit hard, and you don't have like Uber Eats. They can deliver your food from the spud shed or whatever. But even when you're using Uber Eats, you're still paying that surcharge for the food.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have the option to pay cash. So, hang on, there's a few comments here as well. Damien, I don't know why it's doing this, but it's, what is it? No, give me what I want. It will kill a lot of companies for sure. Then I don't know that. I didn't know that. So I think that's also around the cash side of things, that they didn't know they input the charges for the FPOS into the actual
absolutely
product
it's
of the
built
purchases.
In. Yeah, absolutely. It's built in.
I still think cash is king, especially in small companies, like small businesses, like the local coffee shop.
Yep.
Because they're not paying those surcharges and all the fees, especially if you go to a place where you got to use your card. They say, oh, there's a 50-cent surcharge if you're using it, like the corner deli store.
Sure.
By all means, please use cash, because it does help out the local businesses.
The other side of that coin, Travis and Aaron, I used to own a small bar in doesn't matter where, in Australia.
Come on.
And we used to get shitloads of 20s, 10s, and 5s.
Right.
So you go down the bank. I mean, I don't even know what would happen now. You go down to the bank with bags full of 20s, 10s, and 5s. And I used to be always bloody drunk as anything. 10 o'clock in the morning, I'd still be hungover, and I was going to walk in with 10 grand worth of 20s, 10s, and 5s.
Mm-hmm.
What's the bank manager looking at me like? You know, that looks like I'm selling sticks or something, right? So the bank manager's like, oh, okay, what's all this cash? And one of the things was I had to go to the bank every day because my notes were always covered in like Baileys and just stuff that was always stuck together and, you know, that stuff. So I was always going to the bank so I could get fresh notes, so I could have a fresh till, because otherwise my coins and notes would all be stuck together. But what happens to that little cafe or that small business when they go down to the bank and they go to deposit, you know, the $6,000 worth of takings for the day? They might have only made $1,000 in profit for the day, but, you know, they've got 5,000 expenses and they've got cash and they've got to go deposit it. And then the bank says, oh, well, you know, you need to fill out extra paperwork and this and that. That's the thing. It's not just about us paying cash. It's also about the flow and effects. The banking system is just, they're making it so much harder. And I really do wish there was more competition. I really think the people need to start standing up and saying enough is a bloody enough.
I think we do need to have the edge bank of SHAK.
I do like this. It works for me. All right. Well, look let's change gears. All right. Let's change tack a little bit. Let's go to Derek. Derek, what other subjects do you want to jump into today?
This weekend, Argentinian President Milei gained office. He finally did it. And you might recall some of the big changes he wants to break. Now, this guy is, well, SHAK kind of labels himself as a libertarian. So this is what the media is called, Javier Milei, Argentinian libertarian economist, basically offered a warning in his speech yesterday that he had no alternative to a sharp, painful fiscal shock to fix the country's worst economic crisis in decades, inflation heading towards 200%. They've got to curb that. And he's saying, look, there's no alternative but to shock them. Well, the crowd's cheering. The crowd is really, really happy to hear this. And I kind of expect it, right? Because no pain, no gain. That's what's kind of what he's warning them about. Sure. He's been a very colorful character on television. He's got his expletive-ridden tirades against rivals, China, the Pope, taking over from the other leader, Alberto Fernandez, and that was dodged by failures in soaring prices. And he's looking at doing these big changes. Now, one of the big changes he said, as we mentioned last week, is that he wants to get rid of the central bank. Now, if he's successful in doing that, that's just huge. And you've got to wonder if that sets a precedent for other countries in similar situations where inflation is out of control. There's other things, of course, that he wants to change, but in that mix. But, yep, it's finally happening. He's come to power. Keep an eye on that space. It's going to be really interesting what happens from here.
Okay. No, look, I think so. Look,
sorry.
No, 200% inflation. I mean, come on.
What was Venezuela at the height of their socialism debacle?
No Absolutely.
I've heard 14,000%, but I don't know how accurate that is.
So that's Argentina's been so mismanaged that I think what he's talking about as being libertarian is getting government off your back, getting rid of the regulations. Let's try and stabilize the currency. If the Reserve Bank is just printing all this money, let's stop them from having the ability to do that. There may be a little bit of pain for Argentina, but I think that Argentina will actually end up doing quite well out of this. And you watch this space. I really hope that Argentina does well, because it was once one of the wealthiest countries per capita.
Yeah.
And absolutely. I don't see any reason why they couldn't be again.
They've got a lot of natural resources, haven't they?
Of course they do. And look, if you tax resources properly, you can actually reduce your headline tax rates on personal income. You can reduce your headline tax rates on corporations. That's debatable whether or not you'd want to do that. But, there are such great ways of being. Look at the Middle East. The Middle East taxes oil. Most Middle Eastern countries tax oil at 50%, but you don't have to pay personal income tax or very low levels of personal income tax in most Middle Eastern countries. So there are such great ways of being able to structure your economy, and Argentina's been structured incorrectly. I think that he's going to do very well. The big question is going to be what the supply of money is going to look like without a central bank. The central bankers of the world will say that that's not a sustainable system. I would say the actual flow and the supply of money should be determined by the free market. So let's see how that works in Argentina. I think that'll be very interesting, and it'll be very interesting to see how the Argentinian currency will be valued depending on its foreign holdings. What's really good, sorry to ramble on just for a moment longer, what's really good is if your economy is struggling, your currency will naturally devalue, making it cheaper for other countries to buy products from you, especially your labor. As your country becomes much stronger economically, your currency goes up, meaning it's cheaper for you to import goods and more expensive for other countries to buy from you. So a devaluation of the currency of Argentina at this particular moment may actually be of value to them so that they can attract that inward investment. But I think that Argentina is going to be looking very, very positive in the future. So definitely watch that space.
Oh, look, I absolutely agree
in terms of the monetary supply there, Shaq. Historically, we saw Abraham Lincoln issue the greenbacks back in the Civil War, and that was done by Treasury, if I remember correctly. What do you think is better? You said that it should be an independent body, but I mean, at what point do they become by the people, controlled by the people? At what point does that independent body is then taken over by those who've got hidden agendas or nefarious agendas for that country?
Yeah, so just to be clear, I didn't say it should be an independent body. I said the free market should determine it. So there shouldn't be a body, right? So we determine, for example, what the mid to longer term yield curve or yield rates are going to be by the buying and selling action of the free market. And I think that's what should happen with the real currency. I'll just come back to good old A.B. Lincoln. Now, let's just remember that prior to that, there were banks all over the United States that were issuing their own currency. So it seems to me that we should be able to live in a world where people can use anything that they want to use as currency. If you don't have any faith in fiat currency anymore and you'd like to use alternatives, you should be able to do so as long as the other party is prepared to accept that. Now, back then they used to have different banks doing this. Now, what you actually see is a more digital form of what we saw a couple hundred years ago, which is the advent of all these cryptocurrencies. My fear is that it's only going to be a matter of time before big central banks will try to centralize those cryptos, so that you can only have, these main ones, or you have to transact through the main ones. And as it is at the moment, you have to use on ramps and off ramps, right, to get your money in and out of these cryptos. So government still has some idea of what's going on. And with the collapse, which they all wanted, the collapse of some of these major players and some of the frauds that we saw, what that means is government's now going to step in to regulate in order to protect you. And this is the problem. So I think that we should be able to use alternative forms of currency if we so choose. And the most obvious one is, why don't we start with gold and silver? It was good enough before. I don't personally agree that gold and silver is a great store of value. That's not my personal belief. But if that's what people want to use, let them use it. Start there, and then let people start to use whatever the hell they want to use. And
there's quite a movement of it, actually. Like right now, there's quite a movement of people using silver and gold. Absolutely. Yeah.
And if Coles and Woolies don't want to accept your gold coin, go somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? Okay, the free market will determine that, won't they? I mean, if basically they want a customer, they're going to have to accept, what's available, or throw you out.
Josh did make a really good point. With so many people going to online shopping instead of doing it shopping in person, gold and silver is pretty hard to use. But my understanding, there's a gold, a cryptocurrency that's gold backed.
Yes,
that's a direct translation to gold, and there's also one for silver as well.
Yep.
So again, there are ways to do it. So I think one of the things I love about humans in general is if we want to do something and there's a lot of people trying to get in our way to stop it, we'll find a way to
absolutely.
Yeah. Like there's going to be some clever cookie who's going to go, you know what, stuff the system.
Yeah,
I can do it this way, and this will work. And until that, I find that the government is constantly trying to warp and evolve to try and fill all the plugs to tell people, right, you have to go this way, where people will instinctively just say, no, stuff you, I'm done, do what I want, I'm going to live my own life, and I'm going to do what I can to tell the government to go stick it up their ass.
Yeah, Jurassic Park, mate. Nature will find a way, right? Okay, and like that, we are nature, human beings. We will find a way to get what we need done, and if people put roadblocks in our way, we'll get the hell around them, won't we?
Well, this is what we saw with like Uber and a number of other companies, right?
Yeah, good example.
They just broke the rules and then thought, well, we'll make enough money, we'll fight it and see if we can change the rules later. Again, this is the problem. Whose country is this? It's not the politicians. We need to get them out of the way. We need to start saying, what are you going to do? Are you going to arrest all of us? Is that what you're going to do? Maybe they will. Yeah. But I mean, look at what happened during COVID. I mean, people should have been absolutely horrified at what happened. And what were they going to do? Were they really going to arrest everybody in the country?
But we're a very compliant population. Remember that quote? That's from old Mal McGowan. Yeah, absolutely. We're a very compliant population.
Yeah, but that's WA. So for a long time, Australia has been the guinea pig,
absolutely,
if you will, for the world. Just heading back to Argentina, I'm really, really hoping this succeeds for them because they can be the guinea pig this time. I'm tired of being the guinea pig for the rest of the world. So I want Argentina to absolutely kick ass. I want them to be amazing. I want their economy to turn around because I know a few Argentinians and they're hilarious. They're great people. So I want them to be on the world stage again as a power broker.
All right, mate. Now we're going to take a break. Today we're just having one break in the middle of the old show. That's all, just the one. Now I know what an absolute struggle for you, but we do need to keep the lights on, my friends. So it's Edge Radio Australia, the greater wealth.
All right, the mic. Oh, I'm an idiot.
Yes, you are, because you've just spoke over a hot mic. Nice work there. It's Edge Radio Australia. We are back. Oh, Travis doesn't understand how microphones work, but that's okay.
No. We could have kept talking because these mic, when you mute them, it still goes through to World of
look at that.
Media.
Okay, jeez.
I'm an idiot.
He's such a techie guy. Never mind. It's great to have, look, those who are watching online really appreciate that. Can't see the screen, so I have to rely on the Shave Monkey.
Just
Let me know
look at the reflection of my glasses.
Yeah, okay, absolutely.
Thick enough for it.
Maybe I'll sit over there. You can watch through the reflection of my forehead. We'll do that. All right. Are we ready? Let's jump back into this. I'm going to assume that we've got Derek Whittaker back online, mate, for the Greater Wealth. Have we got you there, buddy?
You got me. I'm right here.
Fantastic.
And
Let's
Shaq's
jump
here
back.
too.
Shaq's here too. Fantastic. Let's jump back into it.
Can I make one quick comment on Argentina before we move on to the next topic? I just want to say one of the things that I think is great for countries is to look at taxation and being competitive in relation to taxation, because when you end up attracting a whole heap of international investment. Ireland is a good example of that. I think Argentina, if they make themselves very competitive, could very, very quickly become the powerhouse in that region of the world. I would leave it at that.
Yeah, that's a top idea. I mean, you look at the UAE, places like that, attract so much, basically money to their country because they're bringing a lot of people of great wealth who don't want to be losing all their money like they do here in Australia.
Look at Singapore in Australia.
Yeah,
we've just had a message from Damien. So, as some people are aware, we had a quite a dramatic incident for the Edge family. So, Aaron did lose his house, and another friend of mine also lost their house in the fires. So, we have got a GoFundMe running out at the moment. I don't have the link with me at the moment. I'll chase it down in a minute and put it in. So we did have Damien just ask, how are you going, Aaron? Are you doing well?
I'm all right.
I couldn't help myself. I had to say Aaron is sexy, especially in a pink shirt, because you can't see the comment section.
No, I cannot.
It's hilarious.
No, you know what, guys? Like, okay, honestly, I'm not going to lie. Things are very tough, and like you have your emotional days, and it's been a tough couple of days, really tough couple of days. But to be frank, I'm seeing the glasses very much as half full. This is a chance to set better foundations, newer foundations. It's a fresh start. So although, it's going to be tough, no question about it. And obviously financially it's tough, emotionally it's tough, just life of not having the things you're accustomed to having at hands, and not having a home is kind of it's just an unnatural feeling,
So the question is, that couch or this one? Which one did you sleep on for the first night?
I slept on the floor over there for the first night, literally in the middle of the floor, a rolled-out mattress. So, but that was just one night, and I've been very lucky. I'm staying at a friend's place, and they are absolutely amazing. I'm going to keep their name private. But, look, so I'm going okay. And as I say, I am getting on with it. I am realizing that this is more opportunity than it is negative. So I'm going to go focus on that. The fact of the matter is, come 2024, can't talk about it now, but Edge is just going up, 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 up. New toys, things to make us go better, so that we don't have as much reliant on older techs, maybe some new toys in the tech department. All of that's all coming our way. And new contributors, lots of stuff. So quite frankly, future's so bright, you got to wear shades.
Yep. And one other thing that I do want to put out there, and just because I can, and Aaron doesn't know I've done this.
Oh dear.
So a lot of the funders for GoFundMe actually run businesses for themselves. So I'm going to be, over the next couple of weeks or so, I'll be reaching out to everyone that's donated, and we're going to be putting advertising packages for them as a way to say thank you for all the people that have donated. The other thing that we're also going to do is for the Edge community, and this is purely because Edge needs money. It's very, very expensive to run a lot of these shows.
It is.
So we are changing our advertising structure plans where people set a budget. They just say, right, this is our budget, this is what we can do, and then we'll make a package to match. So all advertising packages are absolutely totally 100% customizable. So please send an email to info@edgeradioaustralia.com. That's right, isn't it? Yeah. Sorry, I keep getting Derek's mixed up with ours.
edgeradioaustralia.com. info@edgeradioaustralia.com. You can go to the website. You've got a link there. Beautiful. And people are already taking it up. I have to throw a shout out to Nita from Emodious
legal. So they do property settlements for people. So they're the first people to jump on board with it as well. So thank you very much. We're just in the process of organising their advertising.
You know what? Okay, Edge is all about grassroots. It's all about freedom of speech. It's all about freedom, right? So the fact that we're now going to be able to do this, and just because this makes it advertising affordable for everybody, you can name the budget. So yeah, we've been trying to put this together. Obviously, Travis has just walked in and just go, just do it my way. It doesn't really matter, which is kind of cool.
We'll just break the rules and we'll fix it later.
Yeah, exactly. We'll clean it up afterwards. All right. But ultimately, Edge is a platform for independent, small voices that don't get heard, and the same thing for businesses. And we would love to promote you. We are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Our audience is just fantastic. And we would love for you to be part of this journey. And obviously, we would love for every business that joins us to have great success. We will do everything in our powers to create that success for you. Enough of that. Let's get back into it. All right, now. So, Derek, you were going to grab us by the hand and steer us in another direction, mate. Where are we going now?
New York Post has come out with an interesting story claiming that billionaire George Soros has funneled more than $50 million to a network of Iran sympathizer groups whose members have gained quite a significant sway within the Biden White House and defanging US sanctions on Tehran. It's interesting because he's got his Soros Open Society Foundations, and he's given a staggering $46.7 million to the 2016 International Crisis Group, and they are a bit of known as a bit of a think tank for the alleged Iranian plot to manipulate US policy. What's interesting is Robert Maley, the former US Special Envoy to Iran, is now under FBI investigation for his alleged mishandling of classified material. And he was actually the ICG's president until he joined the Biden administration in 2021. So it's really interesting to see some of the stuff that's coming out of this. And many of them, it's been rumored before by other authors of books on Soros, biographical writings, that he is a big funder of a lot of these activist type groups that have caused disruption in Western society. And so it seems like his agenda is one of socialism or communism. He gets behind the groups that are kind of somewhat linked to his way of thinking, and he funds them and funnels his money through that. That's what's been suggested by many reporters on this.
I tend to agree with them, to be honest. I'm seeing someone who has a very much an anti-American agenda when I look at Soros and what he funds and the way he goes about himself. And you know, this infiltration into government through the back door, I think it's always existed, but obviously it's a lot more visible than any other time in history.
Yep. What I've also done, so for the people listening on the radio, jump over to Edge Radio Australia on the Facebook page.
Yep.
I've actually posted a link to that article. So thanks for sending that through for us, SHAK. So I've posted the link to the New York Post article that's actually listed everything. So
Brilliant.
Just to be clear, this is not us making this shit up. Like there's actual documented reports about this.
Sure.
So I have to give the credit to Derek. Like his ability to hunt down things like this is actually kind of amazing. So thank you, Derek, for all your journalistic expertise in these sort of situations. Now, with someone like George Soros, with as much money as he's got, and I don't know how I feel about this one, because Iran is a country of their own. George is free to do what he wants with his money. I don't think we should be telling him what he can do with it. But Iran's got some very, very clear connections with Hamas over in Israel at the moment.
Yep.
But George is Jewish.
What's going on there?
So it just, I don't get it. I'll be honest with you.
I think some of the issues that have been with some of these kind of donations is that people who have been in that space have actually gone on to get either government jobs or they've come out of government jobs and into these organizations. So the traffic between people, and I don't mean human trafficking, I'm just talking about people movement, just to be clear. But what I'm speaking is people who've gotten jobs after they've left these kind of organizations. So we noticed this with like some of big tech, right? In what came out with the Twitter files that Elon Musk put out there, it was interesting to see that some of the people that Twitter had hired or allegedly hired were people who'd worked in government positions that had to do with, you know, censorship, security, all this kind of stuff. And now they're moving there. And I think that's what's raising the issue, is that people are using money for huge political influence. Now, who doesn't use that? Anytime you give a political donation, you are using that for political influence. You're trying to give a party or candidate or some description a boost in terms of their campaigning. I think when it starts disrupting society to this level on such a coordinated effort, people are just waking up to it. And it's being aware, why is there so much disruption in the world? How much of the activists that we see in the streets and on the media or the alternative media are actually funded by someone getting paid to be out there to wave the banner? I find it interesting, some of the excerpts that you find lately, where people are doing the chant, the pro-Palestinian chant, and then when people question, do you have to know, okay, what, it's the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. They're going, well, which river are you talking about? Which sea are you actually talking about? And the people who are chanting this don't know. They have no idea as to what they're actually saying with that chant. And I think that's something that's a big wake-up call, is like, you can go with a narrative on these sort of things, but you've really got to sit back and question, hey, what is it that's being presented? What is being said? Also on that is when authorities start saying stuff. Like we saw recently, the police get up there and say, look, if you know anyone who's saying stuff that is very conspiracy type theory, you should kind of report that into us. That's a fascinating admission for me when I look at that and go, what's the fear behind a commentary like that? Why are they saying that? What are they concerned about? And I think that's what we just start helping people understand, question this narrative, question the things that are coming out. What is the agenda? What's the agenda behind the money going to where it is?
So I have to get into politics on this side of things, because to me, any donations of this amount isn't about just freely spending your money. It becomes a political interference. So we'll just quickly hit on the river to the sea. That's pretty much a Palestinian chant to destroy all Israelis within Israel. Okay. They just want to mass murder the lot. To me, that's a call of action. It's the same as saying gas the Jews. Yeah. That's a call of action. That's genocide. So I think a lot of people, and you hit the nail on the head, they don't understand what they're actually doing. We had organized a political event not we, Edge Radio, but I was a part of an event about 6 months ago where we had a very questionable political leader over in WA. And we found out that the protesters that rocked up to the event were getting $15 an hour paid cash. And like, my question is, A, did they declare the income? Because I guarantee you most of them were on some sort of Centrelink benefit. Mm-hmm. And B, it's below minimum wages. So minimum wages is $23 an hour. So the organizer of the event were openly breaking industrial relation laws as well. So why weren't they being investigated? Like, there's always two sets of rules, one for them and one for us. Yeah. And then when you start getting to that scale of things, and I've also just going down conspiracy theory lane here. So the riots in America over the what's his name, the guy that threatened the baby, I can't breathe. Oh yeah. Black Lives Matter, obviously. Yeah, George Floyd. Yeah. That's one. Floyd. So apparently, the reason there were so many bricks readily available for the protests is because apparently George Soros organised to have a whole heap of pallets of bricks delivered into the main street the night before the protest. Oh, and I've seen the video of this. Okay, and I don't know who paid for it. I didn't know that bit, but I've seen physically. Okay, why do you suddenly just in the middle of roundabouts and through the middle of a city have all these pallets of bricks? It's insane. So that's what I'm saying. Like, at that point, it's no longer about just spending your money how you choose. That's inciting political unrest. And when you've got a country like Iran who's openly supported terrorist organizations like Hamas, does this then fall into the realms of terrorism, funding terrorism? As far as I'm concerned, it does. I look, and I find it. Is it sort of was it an insurrection? So again, like we're going to play with these. No. I haven't read the article yet, so I don't know how the money's been gone there, under what pretenses that has been done. So I want to throw this over to Shaquille, because he's done a hell of a lot more travel through that region than I have. So this is just me looking out. I could be totally wrong. I'm happily to be corrected on this one. So Shaq, your thoughts?
So I haven't been to Iran. I know a number of Iranians, though. Very nice people, the ones that I know.
True. Look, well, Mick Mahmood is Iranian,
and Beverly Hills is may as well be little Iran. I mean, the Iranians have taken over Beverly Hills, and there's a very big presence of them there. Look, I'm going to say this. I don't understand why people who are born here, who know nothing about Palestine and Israel, are acting so passionate about things, river to the sea and all these other things that they're chanting. If you're not even if you're from there, I can understand. I don't agree with you, but I can understand. If you have some advanced knowledge of the area, I get it.
Sure.
But if you're not even from there, if you're some white kid from Vic Park, will you just go home? Just go home. You know what you're talking about, dude.
Go play some League of Legends in your mum's basement.
Advocate for Western Australia to be a republic. I mean, we went to England, before me, went to England, said, hey, we want to be a republic. England said, yeah, get back in your box, shut up. You're going to be part of Australia. So, I mean, advocate for that or something instead. I'll just say this in very reluctant defense of the movement. I understand that Palestinians feel, and they've expressed this over a very long time now, that they feel that the land that is rightfully theirs has been taken from them unfairly. And what they have done over decades and decades is they have rejected the idea of a two-state solution. And yet the West keeps pushing a two-state solution. And it was really up until fairly recently that I used to say, yeah, we should have a two-state solution. And it was only after I sort of thought, why do I think there should be a two-state solution? Because what? Because the government tells me that? What do I know about the place? So after sort of looking at it a little bit more, I go, well, okay, maybe a two-state solution isn't what's going to work there. Maybe a one-state solution would be better, but how is that going to work? And I think if you're going to have any kind of rational conversation about Israel and Palestine, I think people need to talk about what are the potential solutions. We know that two-state is one of the solutions, or one-state is one of the solutions. How would both of those things work? Is there any other alternatives, and how would they work? And what is going to be something that's acceptable and agreeable to both Palestinians and Israelis? But more importantly, the issue I don't think is going to be decided by Palestinians and Israelis.
No,
the decision is going to be decided by the West and the Middle East. And unless you can get some consensus there, this is going to rage on forever. And it shouldn't be raging on the way it has. So something has to give. But I think that going around university campuses and making Jewish kids, fear for their lives and be locked into rooms, in Sydney, where Jewish kids are being told, maybe don't wear your school uniforms anymore, maybe don't go to school at all because, we're not going to be able to protect you. This is not the Australia that I know and love. It shouldn't happen. And it's completely unacceptable. And I would say the same thing, even if the group that they so-called belong to have done something I don't agree with, that still doesn't mean that the people living here should be attacked for it. I think that that's just totally wrong. And, Pauline Hanson, in her wisdom, she started off by attacking Asians, then she ended up attacking Muslims. Now, some things that she says I think have merit. Some things that she says I think is a little bit cuckoo. But, all up, she's had a rough time in politics, and I have an immense respect for what she's achieved, despite that rough time. But leaving that aside, one of the things that she talked about was the lack of assimilation into our values. Not so much that you're from somewhere else or you have a different religious belief, but it's a lack of assimilation into our values. And I think that she's very right. It would never occur to me to attack somebody because they happen to share the ethnicity of somebody who is in another country that I'm not from, who's attacking somebody who has the same ethnicity as me in another country that I'm not from. That would just be ludicrous. Like if something happened in India, where I'm like 200 years away from India, something happened over there between the Indians in one group and another. Like, what am I going to start attacking some kid that lives down the road over here that was born here and knows nothing about it? It's just absurd.
Yep.
So I think that we need to get back to that in Australia. Stop this bullshit. Stop attacking everybody. And if you don't know what you're talking about, shut up.
To be honest, we've got enough problems in Australia as it is. We before we start looking internationally, I think we need to fix the problems at home. We've got massive homelessness. Our economy is just in the gurgle. Our debt levels are insanely high. small businesses are getting screwed over left, right, and center. So like we've got enough issues in Australia that we should be concerned about.
Do you know what? Okay, I don't go out and mow my neighbour's lawn and leave mine, 4 foot high.
I
mow mine first, right? And you look after your own first. And that doesn't mean I don't care about others. Doesn't mean I don't care about people from other countries. I absolutely do. I am literally, as I said, my background goes to other countries. So, and like most Australians, we are caring people. But the reality is, you are spot on. We need to look after our own first. And if you come to this country, I don't care. I'm sorry, full stop. You come to this country, contribute to it, right? Don't destroy it. Okay. Speak English, right? Do the right thing by people and enhance it rather than come and try and take over and bring, the things you've escaped. Why bring that to us?
Well, I think the issue here really is the fact that, you've got somebody who's associated with international bodies, funding different political agendas in other foreign countries.
Correct.
And I think I don't think anybody has an issue with somebody funding something that they believe in, even if they disagree with what that might be. Sure. But how far do you go with this? When it's there to usurp the authorities within and the sovereignty of those nations, then there's a bigger issue at play here, because this is not just bending a nation to a particular way of thinking or that. It's actually there to disrupt it. And when does it cross the border line of terrorism? I mean, that's the whole issue.
Now, especially when you're dealing with.
I said it on the previous show that we did. I'm just going to say it again. There are certain things that you might advocate for to change the country you live in for the better. But if you genuinely feel this unhappy with Australia or the US or whatever, right, George Soros, if you're so unhappy with the US, why don't you move somewhere else? Like, most people have immigrated to Australia or the US or Canada or whatever from other countries because their parents or grandparents or whoever felt that they would have a better life there, right? Some people take it by force, but most people have moved voluntarily. If you're really unhappy with this country, move somewhere where you think you'll be happier. Or at least try to move somewhere you think you'll be happier. I was unhappy because I didn't feel like I could do what I wanted to do here in this country in relation to finance. So I went to move to Switzerland, right? Because I felt like I had better opportunities there. Nothing against Australia. It's just I couldn't do what I wanted to do here because of our regulations. So if you feel, oh my God, like this is horrible. I hate having freedom and I have to respect other people's freedom. This is awful. I'd rather government tell me what to do all the time. That's okay. I think you're delusional, but that's okay. Try to move to a country that's going to do that for you.
Yep. So one thing with the Israel and the Palestine issue, I've been getting absolutely bombarded with questions about this from a lot of my friends, because some are Middle Eastern, some are African, some are British, and all this sort of stuff. They're from all over the place. So I really don't care what your skin color is.
Thoroughly agree.
And it's really tough because I don't think either sides have clean hands in this one. It annoys me when people say the conflict's only been going on since 1948 or whatever. No, it's been going on for thousands of years. So it's been too many years. I think both hands have their hands dirty. So my question, and the panel can choose not to answer this one. Is it time we have the North Korea, South Korea resolution done in Israel and Palestine, where we have an area in the middle, which is an absolute no man's land. No one crosses that land.
Sure.
You've got Israel over here. You got Palestine over there. And if anyone is caught in the middle, you're dead. Like, no questions asked. They just shoot you on the spot. So is it time to permanently separate these two countries that have, it's like two warring children. So like when two kids are fighting, what do? You grab them, you separate them, right? You're in that corner, you're in that corner. Don't talk to each other until you can play along. So is it time that we take that same stance with Israel and Palestine? Because clearly they've had centuries and centuries to sort this shit out, and they haven't done it. So is it time that we just separate the two and say, right, Israel, you stay there, Palestine, you stay there, don't talk to each other?
Well, okay, with that parenting sort of advice, mate, we've got to end the show. So what I'm going to do is quickly throw to SHAK, and I'd actually like the final word to be from Derek. But, thank you very much for everything.
In 10 seconds or less, no, because one, the conflict in North Korea and Korea are totally different. Two, if you're in the exclusion zone, you don't just get shot and killed immediately. But three, most importantly, what you've just suggested is us forcing a two-state solution, which is exactly the issue, which is in contention, right? Is the Palestinians feel, and so the best land's been taken from them, and they're not prepared to accept that. Neither is many of the other countries in the Middle East.
Derek?
I think nations have got to work it out. If you really believe in sovereignty, then they have to work it out between each other. And without whatever conflicts we're looking at, I think it's very easy to take sides and jump on there. I think we've got to remember and not lose fact. We're talking about human life here. We're talking about bloodshed, and that's what we've got to think about here.
All right. Well, I'm going to think about this. Thank you very much, guys, for being part of another wonderful show. We're so conservative around here. So what we'll do is we'll call it there. We'll obviously have the replay on Sunday from 5 p.m. Otherwise, we will see you next week from 1 here on Edge Radio Australia for the greater wealth.